Another really breezy night, but seems to have finally calmed down a bit. And hey, sunlight. So I only saw the one person yesterday, probably because of the storm. A lot of people that I ran into were all buttoning up in Patagonia to wait it out. It was actually pretty entertaining watching me trying to set up last night because the wind was blowing, so the tent kept trying to, blow off with it. I was a little worried about the tent poles for a little while there. I'm protected as well as I can, but there's only so much you can do. If you set it up flat on the ground and you stake things out, kind of like if you had a trekking pole tent, then you pop it, it does a little better. I actually prefer having the freestanding tent though, because I will normally set up the tent and then kind of position it just perfectly. That way, if I have, a root here and a rock here, I can get a sleeping spot right in the middle, which really helps since I tend to set up in a lot of less than ideal spots. So that's the trail up there. I came maybe a quarter of a mile down here. Plenty of campsites. There was 3 or 4 of them that were kind of overgrown like this. I found something that would work even if it wasn't ideal. Lots of fire pits. See, somebody sure spent some time camping down here. Not much in the way of decent tent sites though. Lots of uneven ground. Though if I was in my air mattress, honestly, I can be on top of rocks and bumpy vegetation like this and not even notice. At least for the week until I managed to pop the bloody thing. I basically found this because I was looking at any of the ridges that had flat areas, and then there was a use trail. Yeah, use trail. Nothing about it on far out, but that doesn't seem unusual for this trail. Quality of comments has been a little lacking. So yesterday I did 19 miles and change, which isn't too bad. I did push it a couple of extra miles at the end of the day just because that last campsite was occupied and I didn't want to jump their campsite. There is nothing wrong with setting up across the way from somebody like that. I just tend to prefer camping out alone. So, treat others how you want to be treated and all that, right? I did see an update from the southern terminus saying 20 people had signed in, 20 hikers. So it does seem like more and more evidence for record numbers out here this year. It will be interesting to see what impact that has on the trail towns. Patagonia didn't seem to have, a ton of capacity for people. And I know one of the towns up ahead, people were bragging about sleeping in the post office. And that's the sort of thing that doesn't work once you start to have crowds. Things that locals embraced when there were a handful of people coming through can tend to cause issues when all of a sudden there's 20 stinky hikers clogging up the post office when they try and go get their mail. So I currently have 50 some miles to get to Colossal Cave, which is my next resupply. Jen dropped a box off there at the visitor center. That is also where I'm going to have to recharge my batteries. So I might be stuck sitting around town longer than I would prefer. Generally, after a week and a half or so, ideally I would find some cheap hotel just so I can get everything recharged, laundry, etc. But looks like that might not be an option for a while here, which it's fine. I mean, I can sit on my butt for the 4 hours it takes my battery to charge from scratch. Honestly, I usually prefer the days in between town stops, just because then I don't have to worry. Wake up, start walking, wait till it gets dark, stop walking. Easy. No having to time getting in and out of towns, hitches, etc., etc. At least so far, it seems like my plan of keeping it to shorter days, in the 15-mile range, is working out. Haven't had any of the heel issues, etc., that dogged me during the PCT Section A. It's just every time I hear from a friend of mine and they're doing like 25-mile days, a part of me always feels like, oh, I should get moving. Basically, like my exes always said, I'm just never happy. Or I'm happy, just not content. So at least for now, I'm still gonna keep the same rough goal for every day and hope that, kind of like yesterday, organically I start inching up on miles. So I've been having a really, really easy time falling asleep at the end of the day. That's one of the advantages of through hiking. You're pretty much full body tired, as Jen likes to put it, at the end of the day. However, I'm finding that my sleep hasn't been super restful. Some of that is just getting used to being on the hard ground with the limited pad, I'm sure. Some of it's just older and wimpier, I'm afraid. And also with the wind. you know, you get a big gust hitting you, it'll start flapping the fly around or making other noise. So that can wake you up pretty constantly. But hey, welcome to the trail. I'm pretty much never rested or fully recovered until I come off trail at the end of the season. And looks like we're getting more mines today. So per the sign, this one goes 1,000 feet in carried water. More birds. So I just ran across somebody that recognized me from my condor videos, and interestingly enough, she says she has not seen anybody out here. She says she's been alone for days, which is interesting because I saw, you know, 10 to 15 a day until yesterday. It's all at what speed you move, though. If you're moving in sync with everybody, you know, they can be people directly ahead and directly behind, and you just don't run into them. The times like the start of the AT where I was moving at speed and everybody else was moving slow, I saw so many people. You can really tell they're actively improving this trail. Lots of little additions per some of the older maps that I was looking at. The AT was really great, and it's easy in a lot of ways. I caught back up with Diane after filtering water. That kind of got a boot up my butt. Funny thing is, when I'm talking, I tend to walk faster. Unfortunately, then I go back to listening to my audiobook and thinking about how XYZ hurts. So then I slow down. Running into the occasional day hiker and such today. Hey, cows with horns. This could get exciting. So I had seen comments about Kentucky Camp as a water source up ahead, but I hadn't realized quite how extensive it was. I'm currently sitting here on the backside of Kentucky Camp, which is right along the trail. It's an old mining ranch camp. It's pretty cool. They even have trash, water, and bathrooms here we're welcome to use. Sadly, I can see a coffee maker in there, and we don't have access to that. Actually, the caretaker just came by and explained what all's here, and he will let you charge. I don't think I'm going to sit around that long, but nice perk. And I've officially sit still as long as I can, because it is cold. Cool little place, and if I was in a little bit more of a mind to sit around, I might have charged my batteries here. Water with a hint of slime. Okay, so that lady I've been jumping back and forth with for a couple of days was camping there for the night. Water wasn't too bad. A little bit of a tang, but nah. It was actually freshly fed. You just had to get it out of a tank that had a fair amount of particulates in it. And no, some people will like pre-filter that with coffee filters and things. I usually don't bother. God, I love this guy out here. So it's 5:30. I just drank 1.5 liters of only slightly tangy water, filled up my 2.5 liters for a dry camp, and I'm just gonna wander on a little more. I'm at a good spot on my buck, so I don't feel like stopping. Looks like I am gonna get closer to 20 miles today. which will set me up better because I want to make sure and not have to stay at a campground when I go through Saguaro. So basically, I think I need to be within 3 or 4 miles of mile 130 in a couple of days, because there's this 17 some mile section where the only place you can camp is a campground where you need to reserve a campsite. And as I've said before, I live in a campground when I'm off trail. I really don't want to be in any public campgrounds right now. This was actually a really good day and one that has me kind of wanting to continue, but my feet are pretty dead. And I'm going to get closer to roads, so I think I'm going to call this home sweet home. There's a couple of spots I checked back there. Would have put me a little under 20, but they're just like cow pies everywhere. And I'll camp on them if I have to, but you know, they're a little warm. They make for a good pillow, but if I can get dirt and grass, I'll go for that. And home sweet home for the night.